All right, the question for today is what were your least favorite school subjects? Um, this I think can be a pretty short video because I think what are my least favorite school subjects? So the easiest is to say, my favorite were math. Um, I think because there's an answer to them, right? I think when you work out this long derivative or the long algebra equation or even long division, like they're at the end, it's like, hey, the answer is 3.79 and you're done. And you're like, yep, that's correct. As opposed to English kind of stuff, uh, and it's just an interpretation of what you think when the author said this. And I don't know, that could be right. That's how you took it. And I don't know. I probably looking back, I wasn't that good of a student as far as learning for learning's sake. I was a person that was, um, I learned to get a good grade, right? I knew I was a good test taker, is what I would say. Even in college, but for sure in high school, I mean, they kind of lay it out for you, right? In high school, like, hey, here's a study guide. So I wouldn't listen that much in class and I wouldn't really read a whole lot like if it was a history class. I would simply wait for the study guide. I mean, once you know how a teacher works and you're there for a year, you're like, oh, well, I don't really have to pay attention. I'll just memorize the study guide the night before or the class before. And you can get a B or an A on everything. And you do your homework while you're in class. And next thing you know, you have, a 3.5. And it's just not that hard because you throw in a few, you have to take choir and gym and all those kind of things. You're like, yeah. So my least favorite, I would say, were literature, um, kind of things. Probably history too. Even though now I would say everything is flipped, right? I would say my favorite subjects now to learn about are history and and then reading. Literature. I guess how it's taught back then. What I think about, I really don't read that. I read more uh, nonfiction biographies, things like that. So I don't know. It's just totally different. Now, what were my least favorite things? Yeah, it had to be English, right? If I just had to answer the question, all my English classes, Old English, um, Greek mythology I took in college. I actually liked. I thought it was interesting. Those are just kind of neat stories. The Odyssey and Iliad, and those are these great epic tales, right? You do get involved in the characters, and it's yeah, fabulous books. But nowadays, I don't want to do math, right? I don't actually do the math. I want to put into a calculator or I want to put it into a spreadsheet and get the answer to usually a money problem or a business problem, right? So I love that. So I guess that's my math side of me that still wants to see like, hey, I want to make sure the spreadsheet makes sense and works out and the numbers make sense. Um, but the things that I like the most now learning about are history and other societies and places on earth and how do they deal with things and religion and just how everybody else lives. That to me is the interesting part. So pretty tame question today as far as least favorite subject, but that's what I would say it is. I would say it's all the literature stuff, mostly because as a 15-year-old boy, I didn't really want to read literature. I don't want to know who Geoffrey Chaucer is. I don't want to read Canterbury Tales. I wanted to read about baseball or Ricky Henderson or Bo Jackson or somebody that I just liked and thought was fun. So I just liked math because it was regular. Now I love gym. I mean, who doesn't love gym class? Um, and choir was nice because it was easy. I wouldn't say I loved it. Everybody else in choir loved choir. I I didn't. I like singing. I like singing in the car, but yeah, I don't really want to sing in a choir. Really, it was mostly just that it was an easy A. So between a gym and a choir with two locked in A's, you just had to get B's and everything else, and you could get a 3.4, 3.6, whatever. Um, so yeah, I probably wasn't that good of a student really, as opposed to now. Right now, I would consider myself a learner. I love learning about new things and finding out new ideas, things that I didn't know. That's so interesting to me. Back then, I didn't want that. I wanted to play basketball. Right? I wanted to play golf. I still like playing golf. Um, but yeah, I mean, my favorite class in college, bowling. Right? I mean, how fun is that? You just go to class and bowl every day. You know, who can't get an A in that? But also, you just show up and bowl. You get credit for it. Like, this is easy and fun. So that was great. Tennis, I took tennis as well in college. Not as much fun because it's harder. I mean, bowling's so easy. And some kids in tennis class were good, right? They were like me taking a golf class, versus a kid that doesn't shoot 80s. He shoots in the 120s, and he probably thought golf class would be hard. That's how I was in tennis, where I'm like, oh man, this is harder than I thought. But so yeah, but I think it's just all the literature stuff that you don't appreciate, right? It's kind of like that whole idea when Sierra and Ella went off to like Italy and Switzerland in high school for their trips, and they come back and you're like, "Hey Sierra, what'd you like about Italy?" And she's like, "The gelato." And I'm like, "Okay, this was too young to have gone. You need to go when you're 23, not 15, or 14. You don't appreciate it enough." You just think of it as a vacation, and it's not as much fun as going to Disneyland and riding rides, kind of thing. So, but yeah, so that's my answer for this question. That's all the literature stuff that I probably just did. So, okay, guys.